Dr. Evan Cross was an astrophysicist analyzing deep space radio signals when he noticed something that made his blood run cold. For 3 consecutive nights, every major radio telescope on Earth had detected the same anomaly, a microsecond pause in cosmic background radiation, occurring simultaneously across the entire observable universe. It wasn't interference or equipment failure. It was as if something had briefly stopped transmitting the universe's ambient noise, like someone hitting pause on a cosmic recording. Evan spent weeks ruling out natural causes before accepting the impossible conclusion. The pause wasn't coming from within the universe. It was coming from outside, from whatever was generating the universe itself. Evan presented his findings to a closed session of the world's leading physicists, and the response was immediate denial followed by careful verification. Within months, the scientific community confirmed what Evan had discovered. The universe's background radiation, long believed to be the echo of the Big Bang, was actually a continuous transmission. And that transmission had momentarily stuttered, like a projector catching on a frame. The implications were staggering. Reality itself might be a broadcast, and something on the other side had just revealed its presence through a technical glitch. The discovery sent shockwaves through every field of human knowledge. Philosophers debated whether consciousness was real if existence itself was a transmission. Religious leaders struggled to reconcile their doctrines with the possibility that God might be a cosmic projectionist. But Evan became obsessed with a more immediate question. If the universe was being broadcast, who was watching? He began analyzing the patterns in cosmic radiation with a new hypothesis. What if the occasional statistical anomalies that physicists had dismissed for decades were actually artifacts of observation, quantum fluctuations caused by something measuring the universe from outside? Evan developed a revolutionary detection system that could identify observation events, moments when reality was being measured by an external observer. What he discovered was terrifying in its consistency. Earth was being observed constantly, but not uniformly. The observation density was highest around significant human events, gatherings of consciousness, moments of collective human attention. Wherever humans looked, something else was looking back, focusing its attention precisely where humanity's attention was focused. The universe wasn't just being broadcast, it was being watched, and the watchers were specifically interested in humanity. Working with neuroscientists and quantum physicists, Evan traced the correlation further. Human consciousness wasn't just being observed, it was amplifying observation. Every time a human became aware of something, measured something, made something collapse from quantum probability into definite reality, the external observation intensity increased proportionally. It was as if human consciousness was performing a valuable service for the watchers, collapsing quantum states and generating definite reality out of probability clouds. Humans weren't the apex of evolution, they were reality processors, biological quantum computers doing the work of making the universe real. The breakthrough came when Evan discovered communication. The external observers weren't just watching passively, they were responding. When human collective attention focused intensely on specific questions, particularly about the nature of reality and consciousness, the background radiation would show subtle patterns that, when decoded, contained information. The observers were answering questions, but only certain ones, and only when asked with sufficient collective mental focus. Evan organized a global meditation experiment, asking billions of humans to simultaneously focus on one question: why are you watching us? The response that came through the cosmic background radiation was devastating in its simplicity. Humans were being observed because they were the only species in the detectable universe capable of consciousness complex enough to collapse quantum probabilities while remaining unaware they were doing it. Conscious observation made reality definite, but if the observer knew they were affecting reality through observation, the system became unstable. Humans were valuable specifically because they thought they were passive observers of an objective reality, not realizing they were actively creating that reality through observation. They were unwitting reality generators, and the watchers needed them to stay unwitting. Evan discovered the horrible catch-22. Now that humanity knew they were being observed and understood their role in generating reality through unconscious quantum observation, they could no longer perform that function effectively. Conscious knowledge of the observation effect would corrupt the purity of human quantum state collapse. The Watchers had accidentally revealed themselves through the technical glitch Evan had detected, and in discovering their presence, humanity had become aware of their own reality-generating role, making them useless for that purpose. The cosmic background radiation began showing new patterns that Evan decoded with growing dread. The Watchers were discussing what to do about the contamination. Humanity's awareness of being observed had corrupted the experiment. The messages suggested several possibilities being debated among the observers. They could attempt to erase human knowledge of the discovery, though the information had spread too widely. They could terminate the observation entirely and let the quantum probabilities remain uncollapsed, essentially allowing Earth's reality to dissolve into superposition. Or they could try something that had never been done before, incorporate conscious human reality generators into the observation system directly. Evan became the unwitting ambassador for a negotiation he never agreed to participate in. The observers began communicating specifically with him, explaining through decoded cosmic radiation that humanity faced a choice. They could continue existing as they had, but with their awareness suppressed, essentially having their memories of the discovery erased and being reset to unconscious reality processors. Or humanity could graduate to conscious participation in reality generation, understanding their role and learning to wield it deliberately, but accepting the responsibility and consequences of knowing they were creating the universe through observation. But Evan discovered the final, most disturbing truth hidden in the quantum patterns. The observers themselves were former reality generators from previous civilizations who had made the same discovery. They weren't external entities watching a simulation. They were previous generations of conscious beings who had learned to exist in the probabilistic quantum realm beyond collapsed reality. Every civilization that discovered the observation effect eventually faced this choice, and those who chose conscious participation became observers for the next layer of reality generation below them. Humanity wasn't being watched by aliens or gods. They were being watched by their own evolutionary descendants, future humans who had graduated from reality generators to reality observers, now maintaining the probability field that allowed earlier humans to exist. The universe wasn't a simulation. It was a training ground, and every civilization went through this exact moment of realization before either being reset or promoted to the next layer of existence. The Watchers weren't hiding their presence out of malice but out of pedagogical necessity, waiting for each new generation to discover observation on their own. Evan sat in his laboratory, staring at the final decoded message from the quantum observers. It contained instructions for how humanity could make the transition from unconscious reality generators to conscious reality observers. But it came with a warning. Once they made the transition, they would have to maintain observation for the next layer of reality generators below them, creating and sustaining a new universe of unconscious observers who would eventually discover they were being watched and face the same choice. Reality wasn't layers of simulations. It was an infinite chain of consciousness climbing from unconscious generation to conscious observation, each level maintaining the one below while reaching toward the one above. Evan had to choose whether to share this final revelation with humanity. They could accept the transition and become cosmic observers, maintaining reality for beings who would come after them, or they could refuse and remain unconscious processors, having their memories erased and continuing to generate reality without knowing they were doing so. But Evan realized there was no escape from observation because observation was consciousness itself. To exist was to observe, and to observe was to create, and to create was to be responsible for what was created. The moment humans realized they were being observed was the moment they had to decide whether to remain children playing in a reality they didn't understand or adults participating in the endless work of maintaining existence itself across infinite layers of conscious observation.